All right, peace, peace, black family. So one of the most common questions I get is how are we African? Like I wasn't born in Africa. I don't know Africa. And when I think about those statements, I often think about Kwame Nkrumah and his famous quote. And the quote goes, I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. And I think a lot of times our people miss that understanding. There's an elder, and I always mispronounce her name. For some reason, I always mispronounce her name. But she wrote a book called Yorugu. And in that book, she talks about also, the Asili, right, in African people that makes us African, the thing that makes us African, the thing that uniquely connects us to the continent. Because a lot of things we do different than the European, no matter how long we've been living in the Europeans' land in the United States, how long we've been living outside of Africa, in the Caribbean, or in South America, we still do things that are innately African to us. And one of the things that I talked about in my last lecture that we did in Atlanta, shout out to Coded Black, shout out to my brother Quasi, one of the things that I talked about or tried to impress on the crowd is that we are more African than we think that we are. The things that we do are our asili, our DNA that connects us to Africa. And one of the things that we do, which most Southerners still do, you might not find too many people up north doing this, but one of the things that we still do throughout southern states or country areas or rural areas is quilts. And the quilts directly, the idea of quilts, the principle of quilts directly come from African culture, specifically West African culture, where you have things like the mud cloth.
Mud cloth has many symbols. A lot of African textiles send a message, and mud cloth is not any different. One thing that makes mud cloth unique is the sense that a lot of the symbols have not been decoded yet, because these symbols were created by and meant to be understood by a small circle of communities, or within a family. A mud cloth would be created, and the symbols on it were understood by only members of that family, because say the mother will pass it down to the daughter, who would pass it down the line.
And this is very important to understand. And a lot of people may not view it in that sense that what we're doing is African, but it is very African. Quick little historical fact is that when we would actually make mud cloth, in some cases, we would actually make hidden codes in our clothing during colonization when the European came. And this is why the European eventually found out what we were doing, and they start forcing their form of clothing on us, because we were using our clothing to deliver secret messages of meeting times and things like this. This is very important to understand. Culture is a surviving mechanism. Culture is very important. History is very important, because history is your culture. Right? And it reminds me of a scene from Family Matters.
Mama, Laura has something for you.
Here, Grandma. This belongs to you.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, honey, I don't believe it.
That's wonderful. Eddie, Judy, come on down here. We got the quilt back.
Carl, how on earth did you ever find it?
Well, I didn't do it, Ma. Laura did.
Oh, I am so relieved to have it back. We all are.
Mother, I think now is a good time to tell everybody the story of the quilt.
Yeah. Tell us quick before Laura sells it again.
Carl, I was waiting for a special time, and I think this is the time. This quilt was started by your great-great-great-great-grandmother, Amy Rose. That's 6 generations back, even before the Civil War. Amy Rose wanted a record of our family in one place. It was to be passed down from generation to generation, each adding something special to it.
Each piece of cloth has a special meaning. This was a piece of your great-aunt's wedding dress, right, Mom?
That's right. And this is Amy Rose's dress that she wore to church every Sunday morning.
What's this, Grandma?
That's a piece of my daddy's uniform that he wore in France in World War I.
Where's your special patch, Mother Winslow?
Oh, I don't have one yet, honey. You know, the tradition is that the eldest daughter sews on the patch after you've passed on.
But you don't have any daughters, Mother Winslow.
That's true. But I'd be so proud to pass it on to you, Harriet.
Thank you, Mother Winslow.
You know, I think I know the perfect quilt.
Where's that?
In Laura's room. What do you say, sweetheart?
You mean you trust me with the quilt?
Now more than ever.
I never let it out of my sight, I promise. Until the day I give it to my daughter.
Laura, I love you. Oh, I love you so much.
I love you too, Grandma.
But anyway, again, I thank y'all for watching this video. Hope y'all appreciate this video. Until next time, you are African, whether you know it or not. The things that you do are innately African, because you can take a southern white boy born and raised in Alabama, and you can take a southern black boy born and raised in Alabama, and I guarantee you they would still do things that are culturally different, even though they're both southern. Because that young African from Alabama, 5 generations born in Alabama, is still African, and those things still resonate in him. Now, some people may try to forget those things. They may move to big cities like New York and be like, I don't care about quotes and I don't care about things like that. You know, those are people who are escaping their African identity, but we know who we are. We know who we are. And you can't escape yourself. You can't. Whether you're Crip or Blood in Compton, every time you pour out libations, or excuse me, you pour out a 40 for the homie, that's libations. You're pouring out to the ancestors. So you can't escape being African. You can't. Whether you're East Coast Blood or Crip, and you wearing these beads around your neck, the red beads and the blue beads, that comes from the Yoruba religion. Especially the Latin kings. You can't escape who and what you are. You African. You just haven't realized that you're African. But until next time, family, think black, stay black, love black, support black, and that's real African black power.